Welcome back, YouTube. Gonna do an oil change today, so figured I'd do a video on that in case there's some people that haven't got them yet, so might not know how to do it. So you have 6 bolts on this skid plate here. There's 2 in there that you just need to loosen. You don't need to take them out all the way. And then these 4 here, and then you'll like tilt it down and just take the whole plate off. This is my first oil change on it, so some people have been having trouble getting the oil filter off, so we are going to find out if I do. So more to come when we get to that part. So after that, there's an oil cooler drain plug and just a regular oil pan plug, and I think it's 7.5 quarts. So let me get some things together and I'll be back. Okay, so I got the skid plate off. It took about like a minute, and that's including me getting the tools. So these front bolts I was talking about, right there, you just need to loosen them enough so that you could push up and get it through that square hole and it slides right out. This way, if you are on the ground, it will make it a lot easier to put on, because you can at least hang it by those 2 front bolts and then just push it upward. Much easier than trying to line all the bolts up at the same time. So here is right there, and then it's got this drip tray right here where the oil is going to leak down. So I'm going to break that loose, hopefully, and get that spun off of there. And, you know, hopefully that doesn't give me an issue. So fortunate for me, Godzilla did not put this one on. I was able to use your standard oil filter wrench pliers to break it loose. And you can see, there it is, and no problem. So I'll just kind of let that go. I got to run up front and grab the filter and the oil. So I decided to change the oil at about 2,500 miles. I was going to do it about 500 miles ago, but the oil was delayed in showing up. So then I went to work all week, so I just figured I'd wait until the end. But I found the cheapest way, for me anyway, was I bought from Amazon 3 pack of 6, which gives me 18 bottles. So that 2 oil changes worth, and it was like $120 for the 3 cases of it. So the other case is up front. But that way you're looking at, I think the filters were like $14 for 2 of them, something like that. So, you know, it's just around $70 to do. I mean, if you can get it cheaper somewhere else, I think the average is about 80 to 90 from what I've seen, but that's just an idea. And then I got, you know, I could change the oil again, plus I'll have 2 extra containers if I need it. So it's looks like it's slowing down dripping. So I got the filter, of course, as everybody knows. You put a little bit of oil up on there. There's some a little bit dripping out of the adapter, I think, up there, just a little bit. So I might just wait till that stops. So that's still dripping a little bit. So here's the drain plug for the oil cooler. I already kind of broke it loose. It's a 15 millimeter. I think I can get the rest with my hands. Okay, so I got the new filter up there. So what I did when I took the old one off, because there's plenty of room, is when I spun it off, I took it this way on this side of these hoses, because you know, those are kind of like mesh covers, and you know, you drag the oil filter over there, dripping oil out of it. Then that gets up in there and shit. So figure that's just a better to go that way. You would, you know, because you can look at it and you go, hey, I could just take it out right here. But this is probably the best oil drip tray thing I've ever seen, because it's pretty. Some try to make it clean, but this actually is pretty good. So now onto the oil cooler, which is right here. So I'm gonna take that plug out. So while that oil cooler is draining, because it looks like it's dripping super slow, I want to address some info here on the sway bar, which probably nobody notices, because a lot of people put these on a lift that are like a drive-on, you know, shit like that. So they might not even notice this. I have it lifted up. Now this would be, you know, where it lifted up where the tires are not on anything. Look at the sway bar. Okay? It's touching right now. So what I'm going to do, like, so say if you were like, you know, jumping this thing, the sway bar is gonna hit, and see, he's pushing this wire up. I mean, on the regular street, it's not gonna make a difference, but I'm just saying if you wanted to rig it so that you don't have to mess with it once you put it on, because it looks like it's stopping. You know, it might actually have a little more travel left. So what I'm going to do, and this is doing it with the sway bar theory, where it's level with the ground. You might not be able to exactly do that. So, and actually the way that I'm talking about will actually won't really affect anything. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the hydraulic jack under the differential, and I'm gonna jack it up just enough to get the this from touching here. And then I'm going to leave it right there, and then I'm going to extend these just enough so that they don't touch. And I would say that that's good enough for regular operation. And, you know, as the suspension, if you bottom out, the bar goes the opposite direction away from that. It points more down, so that's not going to be an issue. So I'm going to go ahead and start messing with that too. Okay, so what I have is I got the bolt out, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let the axle go down as far as it goes. I'd actually jack it up. I don't know. I didn't really measure how far I went up, but I could actually see how much it goes down, because what I did was I went up just enough so that these were not touching the shock mount, or the spring perch there. So I'll check that out. Okay, so after further review, I'm going to say you cannot jump this thing when the sway bar is on, because I measured the difference. It's at 2 inches right now, right? And I had to lift this axle up to 5.5 inches. Like, so 3.5 inches difference from where it's at now to where the sway bar starts touching. So essentially you're losing 3.5 inches of up and down travel when it's like, say you're airborne. So I don't know, sit back here. I mean, that's quite a bit. So I mean, look how much gap there is there. I mean, there's no way that you could, I wouldn't do it, because you might bend something. Maybe the sway bar, maybe the end links, but now I see why they don't put it on there. There's not enough travel. I don't care where you put it. I mean, as you can see, I could maybe make these longer and put them on the very end. That's about all I could do, is like I put it, as you can see, it's hitting right there. I could maybe pull it down a little bit to where it's not touching and extend that as far as I can to reach the very end one, and then like see where it's at when I lower it. That might be a possibility, but like I'm not sure how much I threaded up, and I did thread quite a bit inside of the tube here. So after further review, my suggestion is, if you're gonna off-road it, like where you're gonna launch this thing, you're gonna have to take these off, because that nut is where I had it originally, and you could see how much longer I had to make it, and it's gonna get into this hole here, not even into the one that was in. So I mean, for everyday driving, it's fine. And you know, I did some articulation kind of things off road with it, and it was fine with that too. It's just that for the maximum travel, like the force of this axle coming down when you go to launch in the air, is probably gonna mess up that sway bar. It's either gonna bend it, or it's gonna bend something. Something's gonna get bent. So there's no way you're gonna get the full travel that you want with this sway bar setup. So it's not a big deal, because what I would do to take it off is I would leave the links on the bar, and then, you know, you could do this while it's parked. You take the upper bolt out of the end link, and then take these 1, 2 here and 2 over there bolts off. Take those off and just remove the whole thing, because after looking at this, nobody probably sees this, because like I said, every lift I see these trucks on, they're on a 4-post drive on, and they're never going to see that. And I even the center, yeah, you lift it with the center jacks on those things, and it just lifts it by the axle, so you'll never see the travel. So, and jacking it up on the ground, you're never going to get it up that high. So I'm glad I seen that, because I thought it was like, I noticed it the other day when I checked it, and I thought, oh, it's probably just a little bit, but no, it's like holding it back 3 inches from coming down all the way. So when it's supposed to have 14 inches of travel, you're going to have more like 11. But the problem is, like I said, when you launch the truck, the speed of the axle coming down to extend is going to have some major force going on. So yeah, some people might want to think about it, because if you don't want to fool with it and you just want to go anywhere, anytime with it, I'm going to say you can't do that. So like I said, I'm glad I looked. I don't really do that kind of thing, and I would be more like the thing where if I had to take it off for that situation, I could do it. But some people don't want to do that, so I'm probably just going to put it back right where it was, because it's fine for what I do with it, and stability wise it helps. But for off-road stuff, what it was intended for, that is why it's not on there. So I will be setting this thing back up and then get back to the front. Okay, so I did do something. Maybe this is gonna work. So for most things, so what I did is I put it in the end hole this time. That gives me the most length, and then and angle too. The tighter you go in, the steeper the angle is for everything to move around. So this is where it was stock. I extended it 1 inch here, and now my measurement here, I get about just under 2 1/4, which before it was like 2 inches. So we're talking about, instead of 3 inches of travel lost. It's only a 1/4 inch. And I would almost think even then that that might not be a big deal. And also if you wanted to, which is with a 1/4 inch now, the little space back here, you could like half moon grind that too if you wanted to leave it.